Welcome back to another episode of the Inside Britball NFFL podcast. This week is business as usual, which means Nick and I have plenty of digressions where quotes like pedigree chums from Brazil to the Brazilian and save the ugly for the bubbly being dropped far more casually than anybody would like to admit. Alongside the chaos, we do actually talk about football, breaking down the latest results from the NFFL National and Premier conferences and what they mean going forward. And don't worry, Division 1, you haven't been forgotten. Your very own dedicated podcast is coming next week. So let's get into it.
So, just a bit of a summary. We're going to get straight into it. So, we're going to do it slightly different. And I will add an intro in once we know what utter nonsense you and I have spoken about and hopefully make it a bit more light-hearted. So, for me, I think this is the official kickoff. I know we went through the alignments in the first round of fixtures for Group 1, HNC, last time we recorded, but we're going to go into National Division, the scores, results, Premier Division, scores, and tables. We'll talk through tables, but we're not going to discuss Div 1. Yeah, but hold. We will give them their own podcast. Exactly.
Mate, you can't do that. I thought it was customary for everyone to neglect Div 1. What on earth are we thinking? I mean, next thing you know, these people will be getting promoted and stuff. You know, where's the feeling and all that?
We are mavericks, utter mavericks. So Division 1, please don't get upset. We will get back together and we will go through all the results for Division 1 and the standings. And the reason why I want to do that is we don't want to neglect Div 1, but equally there is absolutely no chance in a reasonable time frame that we are going to get through all of the National Division, all of the Premier Division, and all of Div 1.
It's a fair split if you think about it. National and Prem, you've got 6 groups to talk about there. Div 1, you've got 7, 13, unlucky with Div 1.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's fine. But we get to do it in depth. And the best thing about that is that Div 1, which I'd just like to point out, having now left Div 1 with the club, I really missed Div 1. I really missed all the drama happens in Div 1. It's just unbelievable. It's just like, just watch. I mean, you said I was getting the scores. Yeah, I was getting the scores. I was hanging on everyone's shirt tail, getting every result I could as they came in. But the stories that came with it, oh my days. I mean, Div 1 literally is Friday Night Lights. I mean, it literally is Friday Night. The best and most dramatic football from the whistle to the wire is Div 1. I absolutely loved it. And yes, let's digest that. Let's digest that in its own right, because the majority of the clubs, the majority of the players, it's the real thick end of the stick when it comes to the domestic game. It deserves its own show, and I'm looking forward to that. So I'll just go now. I'll get my coat. I'll catch you a couple of days when we record.
Right. It'll be pretty boring if it's just me going through the national. It'd be like that, when like the final score on Saturday afternoon when you've got the video printer on the screen. Show me age now, but the video printer on the screen and you've got that guy with the monotone voice going through all the scores. That's exactly what it'd be like, me just reviewing National and Premier on my own. So please don't go. Please stay.
No.
And we will arrange to go through Div 1. We'll record next week. So the trade-off is we're going to have to split our time accordingly. And we will record a week later, but we will give it more in-depth analysis rather than trying to squeeze it all into one show and doing a bad job of all 3 divisions.
So what you're saying is this is in the interest of quality and growth. So it's a metaphorical mitosis that we're looking for.
That's far too intelligent a phrase for me. I don't even know what that means, but yeah.
Metaphorical mitosis. I like that, mitosis. Yeah.
What does mitosis mean for those listeners that have got the same brain capacity as me?
No. We both play contact, so I'm not. we both take cadets. Mitosis is when a single cell, I think, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, please, when a single cell breaks out into 2 cells, and then therefore it's kind of things grow and evolve and separate.
Okay. So we've got...
Go to TikTok, mate. Mitosis is a process. Didn't you see the TV adverts? It's how apparently all you have to do is get a TikTok account, you'll pass your biology exams. That's literally what the advert said. The advert said if you spend your life on social media watching TikTok, you'll go to university. And it was like, really? You really think anyone actually believes that? Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah. But they had a little rap, and it was mitosis is a process. I can't remember.
What's TikTok?
What's
I'm joking. I do know it. I'm joking. I do know what it is. Anyway, rundown.
Right.
I think we're going to start with, let's start. We recently got clarification on the promotion relegation process, or in terms of how it will qualify, how teams will qualify for it, how teams could get relegated, etc. So I'm going to talk through, and I'm going to read it out in terms of the caption that obviously came out. So for the national
feels like a redundancy call that you sit there with your employees that have to read the script to you. Everyone sit there, right? So come on, Arran. Bring us
it. It is. How does it by no means reflects my feeling? No, I'm joking. Right,
come on. There's a lot of confusion. A lot of folk are asking questions about this, so I think this is a good place to start. Go on, explain it.
That was mainly me. So it's the blind leading the blind here, if I'm honest. But anyway, so national division. The two bottom-ranked teams of the national division, teams 11 and 12, will be relegated. Should a team forfeit a game day, they will automatically be ranked 12. And I'm assuming 11 if another, it kind of rolls upwards, if you will. So for the Premier Division, so obviously there's no promotion, so it's just clarity in terms of which teams will get relegated. So that means a combined table. So in our standings, when we review them later, you'll see there is a combined table. And we've done the same for the Premiership Division, because the promotion is based on the two teams who reached the final at the Nick Newbold Stadium, formerly Butts Park Arena, for those that have been there and either been to a GB game or have been to a contact finals, which is in Coventry.
Coventry is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I had to think. I've been there so many times. I don't know why I had to think about
that. Well, you give us directions in the last podcast. You're like,
I did.
It's a travel lodge really nearby. Yeah.
Well, not really. Literally next door. I think it's a travel lodge. It might be a Premier Inn. I think. I think works.
Either way, when that final weekend gets drawn out, when those quarterfinals and semi-finals get decided, that is going to be the quickest booked hotel, because everyone's going to be rushing to. Yeah, absolutely.
It always is.
Unless you and I go ahead right now and book all the tables and all the seats and all the beds, and then basically sell them at a jacked up price.
So to be fair, Vic and I normally book our hotel room very early, so we've normally got it booked by now. But I don't have it booked at the minute because I'm freestyling. I can't remember what date they are. I can't even remember whether we're here or not. Anyway.
Digress.
Yeah, which is fine. It's fine. We want this to be a light-hearted pod, not all. As I was saying off camera, that I want it to be a bit like a Top Gear style podcast where the subject matter is a very loose topic. And we might digress, we might go off on wild tangents. But that's all right, because hopefully it's a bit of fun. But I will occasionally get us back on track, such as now. Right. So, finals day. So those that qualify, the two teams who reach the final at Nick Newbold Stadium in Coventry on finals day will be automatically awarded promotion to the national division. This could be, and this is the kick of this is important, this could be both southern or both northern teams potentially, and would mean a rejig in alignments for 2027. For 2026, there will be no play-in game for promotion. And then final point, relegation. The bottom three ranked teams from each region, north and south. So again, combined tables are going to be key here. So certainly the north A and B combined, south A and B combined. They'll be relegated and replaced by teams from Division 1. 6 teams in total. For 2026, there will be no playing games for relegation. Should a team forfeit a game day, they will automatically be ranked 12. We're not going to go into the Division 1 because we'll bring that up when we talk about that next week. Discuss. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's complicated. I guess if you have a really strong year in the north or the south, and we have seen, if we take a look at nationals, we've seen some great starts in the south. Maybe that I'm very confused by how this works because, okay, I'm going back to now my purist mindset in this one. So I'm going to go back to, it was sometime in October 2024 through to March 2025 when we were looking at the structures. And we're looking at how this thing was going to map out with the future structure. Everyone got on a call. We looked at 3 possible options there, and we landed in option 2 and option 3. And in those 2, you had, let's start at the top level. You had 2 distinct conferences. Okay, there was still the notion of a table, but there's 2 distinct conferences, each one with a relegation and a promotion battle going on. And that was that, which kind of kept the integrity of the sizes of those 2 conferences and how they would work together. So this changing a little bit into an overarching table, day and Prem, will mean inevitably that you're going to end up with different sized conferences sooner or later, unless you're incredibly lucky and just year in, year out, you have a good north year, a good south year, a good north year. That's not how it's going to go. No. So at what point does that potentially become a fatal flaw? You know, if you had year on year on year. So, for example, if we take a look right now at the other structures, you've got a whole lot of teams in the south, and then it sort of dwindles, and then you've got the HNC bracket. Talking about Div 1, I know we're not going to, but just looking at how that feeds through. So you could have, theoretically, a real swing to very large southern conferences and slightly smaller northern ones as you've got the levels, perhaps. So I think it's complex. However, in fairness, if it's supported by good cross-conference work, which I know there's a bit of an issue with this year, and we can come into that separately, then at least you'll get an overarching table that has some degree of pedigree and chums, if you will. Pedigree chum. You'll have the cream will float to the top. It just will, which is really good because you might see a situation where you have 2 southern teams and 1 and 2. But I'll be honest with you, Arran, there comes a moment in time where that runs a risk of potentially creating very disjointed sized conferences and therefore a very dysfunctional way of working. Maybe not year 1, year 2, maybe not till after the Olympics. Maybe that's a review point there. I don't know. But I think if you fast forward that to 5 to 10 years, you'd have to be really lucky for that to actually work as a model. You know what I mean? It starts running a parallel track. It's a slight degree out, and then eventually you'll have a delta that, in my opinion, could potentially grow, and then you've got a dysfunctional model that needs to be corrected.
Yeah, I think it's almost like I don't know. It's a ripple that you might not necessarily be able to stop, that will turn into a tidal wave in terms of difficulty to get it back on track. So I think you're right, and I think over a number of years it could end up being a bit lopsided and very difficult to manage numbers in terms of conferences such as North and South. So it's going to need a reset at some point. Whether that is, as you say, after the Olympics or not, I'm not sure. But I think it's inevitable that there will have to be a reset, and I think that's going to be extremely difficult when that time comes. So I do think it might be, it might become a problem later down the line. But I mean, ultimately, you know, we do have a national division, which is what we wanted. It's just more what that looks like later down the line, which might, I think it might just damage the integrity. I don't know yet. We don't know. It's an assumption based on you know what you think might happen. who knows? Who knows what?
What it gives us certainly this year, though, is something different, something interesting. Could be a lot of fun. Could see some interesting, wacky things happen. Would be funny if the Northern team all did really, really well, and then this year they weren't going to Manchester, but they were going way further south than that. Suddenly you've got, I mean, looking at the national results on the weekend, let's just imagine crazy scenarios where, you have like the most northern teams in the country going all the way to Coventry to play each other. That would be quite funny. Like rugby league in many ways, when they all kind of get the bus and go down south once a year, and you kind of think to yourself, but you're all within 5 miles of each other. That's just bizarre. But yeah, no, let's see. I mean, come on, let's it will be interesting. You'll give us plenty to talk about in this podcast. It'll be good for people tuning in because there's a science that will be evolving throughout. And I think having a look at a table, having a look at one combined table is really good as an optic, as opposed to looking at various different tables. It's a good optic. Needs to have cross-conference. I know that's not going to work in Prem this year. That's just an unfortunate circumstance of where they found themselves, because you don't really have true table unless teams play each other. But
I agree.
But as an optic, it'll be interesting. It'll be good. Come on. What could go wrong, said the captain of the Titanic. What could go wrong?
Exactly. I think when we were trying to figure it all out, I think my mind was just bloody frazzled in terms of trying to figure it out. I'm there now. I couldn't see the wood for the trees because it felt really complex and more complex than it needed to be, I think. But equally, I just don't fancy doing their job. So I still give them kudos in terms of doing it. I just don't.
And it is a tough job. My goodness, it's a tough job trying to keep a whole but 72 clubs chirpy. Not easy. But I think it was summed up best in the IBB office this week by Stuart when he was sitting behind the executive producer's chair, which is a hypothetical scenario. People say it's a big oak desk. And he said, it's a bit like friends with benefits. All the combined fun without any commitment or joint responsibility. If there's a quote of the season so far, hats off to Stuart for describing the combined table as it's a bit like friends with benefits. I was like, that's brilliant. You managed to cut right through it there, mate. Anyway.
Right. Shall we get on reviewing the scores from the weekend then?
Some of these friends with benefits. Yeah, come on, let's
let's do it. So, it works. I've got a different screen layout. Yeah, I've got a different screen layout. So
it's great graphics, though. That's really crisp. That's
they do look good, don't they? I must admit, they do look good. And I think they're on game order. I certainly put them in my spreadsheet in game order. So therefore, normally we translate that onto there. So I'm looking at it. I'm on the wrong sheet. So that does help.
But the author is older.
Fantastic. Right. Give me a lowdown on here.
French accent. I'm on the wrong sheet. You're on the right sheet, my friend.
Oh no, I'm not very good with French accent. Albeit, again, we're going to digress here. Albeit, as we know, or hopefully you know by now, Kiwi, who does the WFFL pod and also talks about the NWFL on Contact, is my wife's, and she is a Kiwi. She's from New Zealand. And we went around the south of France with her parents. And obviously they're Antipodean, so therefore they don't really have to learn at school French. Obviously they'll learn Maori and what's relevant to in and around the other side of the world. So here I am, having failed massively French at school. Practically fluent I was when we was around south of France. I knew exactly what I was saying, and it sounded great in my head. None of them understood a word I was saying, but to my in-laws, it must have looked amazing. It must have looked like I might as well have been born in France. So anyway,
to be fair, when you get to the South Island in New Zealand, there's not a big market for finding out where the swimming pool is. You're not going to encounter that as a life challenge. If you go over to Australia It's not going to be la bibliothèque. It's like the stuff that we get taught at school. Jean-Michel. It's not really. What I mean, it's not an Antipodean thing, really, is it? But nevertheless, wonderful culture, great people. No excuse not to speak French. I love that language.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, shall we? Yes. What was hot and what was not? Well, my goodness, I saw the scores come in for the National North. Everyone tries to pick straight away over one score, and I'm sure to the viewer right now that's quite obvious. To the listener, not so much. But there's a massive thing. A massive thing happened early on, and the Hornets lost the game. I can't remember the last time they lost a regular season game. The Hornets lost the game to the Oilcats, who I think last year finished about 10th seed overall on the combined table. So this is a massive shift in terms of what you would have anticipated. Now, when that result came in, my natural assumption was first game of the day. First game of the day. They've turned up. Somebody's been late. They've not warmed up properly. Classic football errors. But to look at this table as you're presenting it, and that shows itself as being the second game, you think, you were warm. If anything, credit to the Oilcats. They were the ones coming in this one cold.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. I mean, so to the listener, Glasgow Hornets lost by a point to Aberdeen Oilcats, which
21-20, yeah.
Which is really quite a seismic shock, to say the very least, in terms of opening day. And especially after the Hornets have just come off, and we'll go through it chronologically now, beat the Broncos 45-15. So they're loose. Their offense is loose. They've scored a ton of touchdowns. They're warm. The defense has made some big stops. You've got a team that's running in top gear by that point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're going back-to-back games potentially here, so there's a little bit of fatigue, but I'm not going to buy that either. You've got athletes, GB athletes in there too. Folk who go to the gym 3-4 times a week, are in very, very good shape. So this is weird. This just is weird. Okay, so that's where I would start. I would start with the big story, which is what the heck happened there? That is a wow. And I mean, that's outstanding. Fair play to Aberdeen. Hats off to them. That's a hell of a scalp to take. What do you reckon? What do you get? Well, I mean, what? If there's something else that stands out there more, apart from the fact the Manchester teams got out really well, particularly the Crows. Great start to the season, no doubt about it. Because the Crows then went on to beat the Oilcats later in the day.
My only watch out with that is that they only just beat Broncos. So when you're asking for my take, I'm looking at these scores in the National North and I'm thinking, this is going to be a long season for all of them. Anybody can beat anybody if it continues in this way.
Yeah. We called it. I mean, last time we were on, we said the accordion effect was going to happen. This is something that was called out loud and clear, but did you see that coming though? Because that is not an accordion. That's like, that's a surprise. That is a big old surprise.
It is, but I mean, you think about obviously the Crows won all three, but like I say, close to Grangemouth Broncos. They beat Aberdeen Oilcats, who you'd think would then be on a flyer, given or have they put all their effort into beating Hornets earlier on? Yeah. But then you've got Manchester Titans, who have a massive win against Edinburgh Outlaws, 47-0, but then go and get tanked by Broncos, and then you've got Glasgow Hornets then back on track with another massive win, 65-6 against Edinburgh Outlaws, and then you've got Manchester Titans again beating Oilcats. So it's like, so the Oilcats, while having a massive, great start, have then seemingly not tanked, because I won't say there were big score differences, but basically, if you're asking me now to pin down who do I think is going to win it, I'm going to have to go for still Glasgow Hornets, because I just think everything else is I just think it's crazy.
I think there's still the pedigree in the North, and I think that's a great win for Aberdeen, a great win for them. But I think you're right. In their other two games, they showed that maybe if the focus wasn't there, sure as heck it was there later on. Edinburgh sure felt the pain of that one. 65-6. That's a lot of heart. Do you know what I mean? That's a lot of heart, and that's probably the the recoil effect after having that game against the All Cats. But for the All Cats to win that game and then to go on and have those 2 losses, man, I tell you, if I beat the Hornets, I'd be thinking that I could run through a brick wall. You'd be going on in the next game, you'd be just like, I'd be like, send the NFL at me. So, if there's ever a day I'm going to beat these guys, it was today. So that's a surprise. That is a real surprise. So I'd love to. I mean, I wasn't at that game. I did see Cammy the day before. He rocked up at the Northern Prem game in the Renfrew. Do you know what I mean? If it'd been the other way around, my goodness, if they played on the Saturday and then I seen them on the Sunday, I would have loved to have had it. Just tell me what the heck happened there, Yeah. But that'll be an interesting one. I think, given the fact there's a certain relationship, there's a dynamic in a podcast there also between 2 of those players. That is going to be 1 hour of dissecting that game. So
maybe,
definitely,
okay, So I think, I think it's going to be a fun conference to watch. That I think it's going to be really good to see how that develops. I think it'll take it to the wire in terms of the final shape of that conference. But I know it's early days to make that claim just yet. So moving on then, National South. I just don't like me use my arrow. There we go. I'm going to have to click. How inconvenient. So we've got some scores here. And for those of you that are listening, check out our socials in terms of the rundown of all the scores, the specific scores in between. We'll obviously pick up on some and try and describe them as we're talking about them. But either catch up on YouTube or on our socials in terms of the tables and stuff. But Cardiff Hurricanes, London Smoke, what a start.
Yeah. That's it. London Smoke, wow. I mean, 3 really convincing wins. I mean, that's if you're looking at these 2 groups combined, then London Smoke straight away out of the blocks, they're top dogs right now. That's the national picture. Canes, really good, but those 2 wins, those 2. They had 2 games. One's sorry for the listener. I do apologise. That's really rude. They beat the Devils by 2 points, and then later on the day they beat the Neptunes by 1 point. That's really narrow. That's very narrow, and that shows that those teams are right in it right until the end. So, whilst Cardiff also got the big wins that they were hoping for, you're still looking at a situation there where it was by very narrow margins. The only team that looked really scary throughout is clearly Smoke. And I think they are back with a mission this year. Following up to last year. Yeah. They've certainly made a statement. Yeah.
Just going back to Cardiff, they did beat London Fire 47-12.
Yeah, as well. Yeah, well, that was the big one. But then the other two is a 2-pointer and a 1 point.
Correct.
So I'm not. Yeah. One great win, 2 challenging ones. Got there but ugly. And if we're going to do the good, the bad, and the ugly, that would be my ugly.
Hold that thought.
Oh, I've gone in too soon.
We'll do that at the end. We'll do that little feature at the end.
Okay, fine.
I refrain from giving a little stat. As I like to give my stats and my numbers. I'll refrain from giving a number because that's going to unfortunately be my ugly. But
all right, so save the bubbly for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Is the catch?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Save the bubbly. Let me write that down for you. I've got pedigree chums.
Some marketing bananas. Pedigree chums.
The ugly.
Yeah.
For the bubbly. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Save the bubbly for the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's a good. Right.
So, but I do have a good stat to your point on London Smoke though. 144 points scored in 3 games. That's a lot.
44 in 3 games. That's a lot.
It is a lot.
That's 41.6.
Yeah. And
Ish.
they're not against
it's way more
teams either.
By mass. Yeah.
They're not against poor teams either. You know, a 45-20 win against Cheltenham Neptunes, a 52-35 win for Reading Devils, and then they beat London Fire 47-12. So there is something in that will let them down, become apparent in the tape when we talk about the tables and we go through them. But there is they have let themselves down slightly. But like I say, we'll touch on that after. So
impressive.
Yeah. So impressive starts. Cardiff Hurricanes, London Smoke. You know, they've been the top two teams for quite some time in the South, haven't they? Let's be honest. Next best team or team that had a good day, Chichester Sharks. Now, they did lose to Reading Devils 42-16. However, they did beat Cheltenham Neptunes 35-20. Now, Cheltenham Neptunes are not a team to be sniffed at.
Probably not. No. Like Canes only beat them by one. Yeah, Hurricanes only beat them by one. So yeah.
Yeah. So I think they are going to be ones to watch. But they also beat London Fire 36-18. So, I mean, London Fire didn't really have the greatest of days, unfortunately. They played 3, lost 3, and conceded 130 points in those 3 games. So, yeah, it's a net points per game of minus 29.3. So
and that's the massive stat this year too. But you know, that's the big important stat this year, net points per game. So,
well, no, that's just general net points, not net points conceded.
Oh gosh, right, okay, right,
yeah.
Right, sorry.
But you're right. I mean, net points conceded 130 in 3 games is not. You know, that is important.
That could pan out, especially when we're talking about a place where the only way is down.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
yes.
right. It's yeah.
So, is there anyone else you would point out on here that you would call out?
Diablos, yeah, like you say, you know, it's Chichester game at the end was good.
Devils
took a bit of a beating off. Yeah, Diablos, mate. We're going to go with this. We're going European. We're going European, surely.
You can't. Well, so normally I would allow.
Oh, yeah, there's a Diablos. Yeah, but I just
there is
a
Diablos.
We're doing a bit of French. We're doing a bit of Spanish. All right, okay. Them old Reading Devils. Them.
Listen, I'm okay with the continental shift that we're going to, as long as we don't get it.
Watch our listener numbers in the United States drop.
We got that's the next one.
You know, like
continental shifts.
Continental shifts. Tectonic plates. Right, let's. Yeah, no, I think the Reading Devils, taking a beating off the Smoke, but then again, we just talked about the Smoke. We talked about how they were good. That was a very narrow game that obviously they had. I think Hurricanes, was it, earlier on? No, Hurricanes, the 2 points. And then they righted themselves against Chichester at the end of the day. You know, Devils, they're all right. Yeah, I mean, they're all right. I think credit to them. There's been a good day put in there too, a good shift. London's difficult game, close when it gets Hurricanes. You'll be kicking yourself there, 2 points, but they took it out in Chichester at the end. You know.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, and for me, this Reading Devils. So when we get to the table, you'll see it's a false position. This absolutely a false position. I mean, even when you look at net points per game, you know, 2.3. So it means, you know, they've scored 102 points. And conceded 95, so it evens out. It's the conceding that's let them down slightly. But let's be honest, they've played against the 2 best teams. You know, going back to the comment about Cardiff and London Smoke being the 2 best teams in the South for a number of years now. Well, poor Reading Devils had to face them both in game day 1. So don't sleep on Reading Devils. I expect them to shoot up that table, but.
Last year, I was just looking at the finishing positions from last year. They were in 5th. Obviously, the Hornets came out first, then Smoke, Hurricanes, Titans, Devils. I think that, but then again, that's that north-south thing again, isn't it? But that was fair too in terms of wins and percentile. You can't sleep on the Red Devils. Looking at the numbers, I guess the biggest upset remains in the north with the Oil Cats. That's got to be a 10th place seed going into it, knocking off the number one, second game of the year. How do you like that? You know, but this is good. Smoke are doing what you expect them to do, but they're doing it very well, and that's the scary thing. You know,
definitely. Shall we have a look at the standings? We'll have a look at the standings for the National, and then we'll move on to the Prem. Yeah.
Okay. We should have a little bit of Elton John here. I'm still standing. It's just like a little bit of intro music that goes in.
So, National Division standings.
My head hurts.
Does it still look crisp?
It looks great, but not enough credit to the Crows. I mean, okay, fair, but wow. Okay, that's okay. Right, do you know what? That's really you would not have called that. You would not have called it. I know we're only talking about game one. I know we're only talking about game day one, but you would not have called that.
You know what the biggest difference is? The biggest difference in this table, which is determining this, because you're right, we didn't give the Crows enough credit, and we obviously highlighted that Cardiff Hurricanes and London Smoke off to a flyer. But actually, the biggest difference on this table, which has meant that London Smoke, despite us saying off to an absolute belter of a start, they conceded 67 points. And net points conceded, or per game, we've put it as, can't remember what average points conceded, because I think that's the official terminology on the rules. Manchester Crows obviously shut the door a bit better than the other two, which is why they're sat on top of the National Division as it stands.
That's quite stunning.
It is, and likewise with Cardiff Hurricanes, they conceded 10 points less than London Smoke. So whilst London Smoke have come out, they're basically the Brazil of the American football world, and it doesn't matter how many you score against us, we'll score one more, type mentality. That's obviously London Smoke. But actually, you can't adopt that policy in this league now with the tiebreakers being as it is.
I think this is really interesting. I'm looking at the finishing positions from last year, because obviously we're rocking into game day one.
Yeah.
Not got much to go off apart from last year. No. Top and the bottom of the table. Top place right now, Manchester Crows. Finished last year 6th. Who finished last year 7th? Edinburgh Outlaws, bottom of the table.
Wow.
From the Brazil to the Brazilian. I tell you, that is like, there's another one if you want it.
I'm not sure.
That's a remarkable separation in terms of two teams who the year before were separated by the benefit of one drawn game. And then all of a sudden, you've got one of them, game day one, admittedly, and a lot can change after game day one. We all know that. You can't hang your hat on one set of stats. But that's a massive separation. I mean, and that then suggests what you said before, which is there's something really interesting going on here in terms of you can't call it. This is an interesting start to the year. This is not one that anyone could have predicted. No one
I agree.
Predicted that.
But it is week one, so let's see how that pans out. Again, I'm just going to highlight Red Devils on there. I think that's an unfortunate false position for them, so I think they'll soon shoot up. Anyway, conscious of time, we've digressed so much. We are 39 minutes into the recording.
Said we'd do this whole thing in half an hour.
I know. You say this every time. I think we're going to be really, really quick, and we never are. I mean, it's... unfortunately, we are the kings of digressions. So let's get straight on to Prem North A, because we've now got 4 conferences to go through and then the standings. 2 sets of standings, because we've got a North standing and a South standing combined tables. So here we go. What are your thoughts? Any standout results there in terms of the Northern Premier A? Is it Premier Northern A? There we go. That's the correct terminology.
Okay, right. I'm going to avoid the obvious. I'm not going to talk about the Centurions, because I hate that. I hate it when folk do that. I think that's really egotistical, and nobody wants to tune in and listen to you talk about your own. They don't want to do that. So I will talk about what I thought was a really great game, and that was the Mustangs against the Chargers. I thought it was a brilliant game of football. I think the fact they get to play each other 2 more times this year, that's a really good one to watch. competed in really good spirit. Both teams are just really good. It's just really good sportsmanship, really decent eye reft. Oh, the Chargers in the game against Newcastle, and Noel is such a gentleman. Like he felt that there was a real contact foul at one point. I didn't give it because I didn't necessarily agree. But he was such a gentleman about it. He was like, if you don't mind me saying, could you just watch for that next time? Just things like, if that was me, the expletives would be heard somewhere in the northern hemisphere, across the other side of the world. But no, that was a great game of football. It was well played. It was well spirited. Mustangs and the Chargers, both have locked into a great game of football there. Elseways, the other three clubs, Newcastle, ourselves, Raptors. We had some ding dongs. We had some good football. It was Newcastle looked very good in the first game of the day against West Lothian. It was only an 8-point spread. West Lothian rallied, but in the first half, the first 3 or 4 drives, Newcastle just put them away. They were just scoring consistently. They were just moving the ball. I don't think the Chargers got a first down in the first 3 drives or so, and that's going to hurt you because then by then the other team's racked up 3 scores, and it's kind of, you're trying to peg them back in from that point. But they did click in the second half and they pushed on. But Newcastle looked good. Leicestershire Raptors always look good. Excellent team. Ben's got a great arm. Ross is a great player. They got talent all over the place. So there's some good games there. But I'm not going to talk about the Centurions Black because
I will.
We went out. We did what we wanted to do, and that was it.
I will. I'll give you honest feedback. You must do better on defense.
Dylan McKenzie's going to be boiling right now.
No, it's always hard to get context, isn't it? I know you would be able to give me context, but rightly so.
I think
we're trying
in both games, right? Okay, right. I'm going to have to defensively respond to you slightly. Okay. In both games, our defense started out well. Newcastle, we shut them out in the first half. Didn't give them a sniff. However, our immaturity showed a little bit as the game went on. We didn't kill the clock as much as we could have. We just kept on trying to keep our foot in the gas. Smarter teams by that point go, just shut the shop down. We didn't do that. Left the defence in the pitch too many times. Then eventually things started to crack a little bit. So that was more on the other side of the ball, that the defence were having to defend more than they should have had to defend because we were going for short, quick drives. That was our mistake. And equally too, they started out well against the Raptors and they finished well against the Raptors. I think there was an interception the first drive and an interception the last drive. And that's how you want to start an end game. The bit in the middle, still got to work on. But yeah. I'm not going to criticise either of those two teams because they're going to come back with a vengeance real fast.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they're both good teams, aren't they?
Excellent teams. Excellent teams.
So basically, you're the only blot on the Raptors results there. So yeah, I do think it's quite a close conference. I know that some of the scores are multiple scores difference. But it does look like it's going to be a big fight, I think. Yeah. So, which is good.
If we're going to stay with the French, it'll be a ménage et trois. Dinner for 3. Yeah. But I think that's unfair on the Mustangs and Lothians. But I think there's going to be a battle between those 3. I don't think this is indicative of how the season will go. I think everyone at the moment. I think we'll just have to see how it pans out in the end.
Definitely. I would have to give a shout out to West Lancashire Serpents as well, albeit different conference. Sore subject that's probably a bad one.
It should have been this conference, but sorry, what?
I genuinely did not do that on purpose. My mind
once it's all on Saturday.
My mind just naturally goes to them and should be being in that anyway.
Nobody was like, moving on. I want to play in this conference, but let's move on.
Yeah. I know people involved with that team.
They're good lads.
Hate message now. I'm definitely going to get hate message.
No, but anyway, should we start with them and move slight because
let's go. Yeah, let's go slightly south and further south. I'd talk about the other Prem North B. how many teams are actually in that? I was Salford there as well.
7.
Yeah,
7 because it was the 6-6 split, and then you had the 5-7. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel sorry for Leicester. They're not North. They've never been North. Never seen North.
I tell you what, though, they turned up grumpy. By looking at those scores, they turned up grumpy because I can only imagine that Warrington got the thick end of that stick. You got a whole bunch of people from Leicester going, if we're going to get up at this time of the morning, we're going to give you a hiding. Do you know what I mean? Huntsman, brilliant. Hey, come on, let's just start. They start where they finished.
You can't have this love for them this season because it's a joint table. So
they look good.
When we get to the standings, you won't be able to. You will not be able to have this admiration from them of them because you'll be battling it out with them up there in the joint table. If this weekend's results are anything to go by. But no, you're right in terms of. I'll go back to West Lancashire Serpents. Great start for them. 2 wins from 2. Likewise, Leicester Huntsmen, 2 wins from 2. Now, going back to the others, I mean, it's pretty much of an even for Sheffield. They won 1, lost 1, beating Wigan Bandits, who struggled a little bit.
Yeah.
But also they losing to Warrington Revolution. So who didn't necessarily have the greatest, they won 1, lost 1 as well, I guess. So
I think it was a tough game to office for the Bees. If we, given the fact it was a home game for them, and can we just start with that? Nobody puts on a better home game than the Manchester Titans. Nobody puts on a better one. Playing in that stadium. The fact they were live streaming it, the fact that it's so well organised, we played them a friendly a couple of weeks ago, and the professionalism from beginning to end is just second to none. I mean, you can't. So it's a shame that they didn't do well. The home tournament didn't go well for them in terms of results because really great team, and they would have put on a great game day. I think other people struggle to put on a game day as good as that. Certainly, you don't have a stadium like that to just pull out your back pocket. No. But that was a tough one for me. And it's a shame to see them not get away with a win. How would they have done that? I'm not sure. Serpents looked on fire. Turned up with half of West Lancashire, apparently, if you took a look at the roster. Very big roster. Which I looked at on Sunday morning and I thought, this is going to go good or bad. It's either too much sideline management, as you can have when you put too many bodies, or they're smart and they pace themselves well. And credit to Nick Carew, the boys. I think there was the latter of those two. By looks of it.
Yeah, I'd say by the results, it was the latter definitely. Mm-hmm. But you're right in terms of the game day. I mean, I'm very food motivated. You don't get a physique like mine from being a careful eater. That's for sure. So I always like the big food van. I just don't like the queue. I've nearly starved to death by the time I've actually been served on the food van at the Manchester Titans stadium. So, but you're right. It is a great game day. What I love the most is that they're streaming because that helps me when I can't get there. That helps me massively.
They're doing it for Div 1 as well on the 16th.
I know, which is great.
We need to be all over that. We need to be all over that because that is just good on the night.
Yeah, definitely. So, going back to another team that struggled, Salford Scorpions, obviously got it wasn't a bad score against Leicester Huntsmen. They only lost by 10 points, but and even then against West Lancashire Serpents, it wasn't that bad. But they're going to have to do something, aren't they, to change that form. I mean, they're playing the top two.
We said this. Those teams coming up were coming up with so much velocity that the teams coming down and into that Wigan, Sheffield, Scorpions, obviously. It was a bumpy ride. It was a really bumpy ride because this isn't just this is not by any means kind of like Leicester Huntsmen, but like they're a great team. Honestly, when you go on a pitch with people and you can see how they operate, what they do, and their schemes. It's not you can't, and that team looks like a national team. We played some games against some national teams who I've seen that aren't as good as them. And that's just the reality of it. I think you're going to have a tough game of football if you face those guys this year in that group. And the fact there is no cross-conference is irritating, because it means we're never going to get a chance to gauge that against a Renfrewshire Raptors. Somebody who could give them a real, I think if this is indicative of how it's going to go, there's two teams there that are going to do really well on paper right now, one game day in. There's three in the other one. Wouldn't it have been good to see them play each other, considering the fact that no one of those teams, apart from Leicester, obviously, is more than a couple hours apart,
Yeah, I think this is going to cause problems at the end of the season when we get to who's qualified, who's not. But the fact that they haven't played each other, or we could end up with a scenario where a team doesn't qualify because another team in a different conference who they never had the opportunity to play against has a better record than them, or even a better average points conceded. So it's like, well, we haven't had any ability to influence that. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
it's
okay. I don't, and I'm not going to bash BAFA, because at the end of the day, too, things just have to be done. You have to move on, and there's no such thing as a perfect solution. I just think that there'll be something we come back to there, especially when the first measurement is percentile, and you have some teams playing less games than other ones, which means those percentile differences count for more. Which means that if you get an accumulation, you could have a team that actually played better but doesn't make it because they're messed up by the maths, and that's not how football should get decided.
No, definitely. It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. But let's move on. Otherwise, we'll be here all night, and it's 50 odd minutes into the listener's life, and they're thinking, all I wanted, I tuned in for the South Prem. Come on.
Right, we're on South Prem.
Yeah.
There we go. So, in terms of this South Prem, it's some good starts here in terms of there's three teams in this conference that did really, really well. I say that, sorry, I'm lying. There's two teams that did really well in this conference: Norwich Nomads and Victoria Park Panthers, who are my pick, by the way, if you remember right.
Yeah.
I think I might. So
what's the QB out here?
Yeah, albeit VPP. Yeah, as you say, he was. Yeah, okay. They've got a slight blot in that.
Great. Should we start with that though? VPP Rebels. What a game that is! 33 apiece.
Yeah, I mean, I bet it was great to watch, and I bet the tension was great.
Oh. There's no way you can get that score as well without somebody missing an extra point, which means that somebody somewhere, it was one of the. I mean, you don't have to be there to be there, and there's going to be that one person who's just like that one catch at the back of the end zone. All I had to do was just watch it, and it's just. But what a game! Gosh, what a game!
Definitely. Yeah, and then obviously they went on to beat Reading Diablos.
Diablos, yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah. Why would you do that? Why would you? It's like okay, I get that they're very cultured in Reading. I mean, it is like I've worked in Reading. I worked for the Department of Agriculture, DEFRA. I was in 10 years ago. I used to have to go to Reading every week, and there are cultures. There's a lot of culture in Reading. But that's just a little bit highbrow. Come on, let's just stick with Devils, Angels. Let's not go Devils, Diablos. You're only messing with foreign exchange students. Come on. Yeah.
Let's move on before we annoy the organisation. I actually like the name. You're just trying to dig yourself out of the holes.
Definitely.
So, obviously, going back to the actual result, Victoria Park Panthers beat Reading Diablos 43-6. So that was a pretty comprehensive win there. Norwich Nomads beat Reading Diablos as well, 61-21. So that's a big score. Big score. So, yeah, it's been a tough day for Red Diablos. However, they did then beat Chichester Tiger Sharks.
Yeah.
So, who we know are a good organisation. Obviously, we've got Chichester Sharks. We know they're doing quite well. And it's again, it's a funny conference. This, I know I keep saying this, and I keep being a bit repetitive, but it is a funny conference. There's a lot of good teams in there where I think they'll all kind of bounce off each other.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say is I probably would have expected a bit more from London Spark, if I'm honest. I know they are technically the third team, but we're at a point where all three of them teams of the London organisation, London Smoke organisation, should I say, were all playing against each other in what was effectively the top division last year. Am I right in thinking that, or did they get relegated? Maybe I'm merging my seasons into one.
No,
I just would have expected a little bit more from them. Hey ho.
You would do though. I mean, let's just do it on principle of catchment. I mean, London's huge, and you set up a club there as opposed to setting up somewhere like Grangemouth, where you have three teams. You know what I mean? And have a similar spread in terms of where those teams have found themselves deposited. Because Grangemouth should have had two in the Prem, one in the National. You'd expect better. I don't mean that in a harsh way, because Smoke are phenomenal. And they've obviously stacked the talent, into a squad. And hey, and I'm not saying there's not talent in those other teams either, because I will live to regret that if I have to face them later on in the year by any weird quirk of fate, and they're like standing over us in the pitch going, what do you say? It's like, there
definitely is talent in them other teams.
But VPP, I mean, they own the city this week. In that table because they got on with business. They put away Rebels, they put away Spark. Yeah, they've done their business. And then obviously the Reading Diablos. But I think VPP are your choice, and certainly standing true to it right now. So we'll watch them with eager excitement to see how they take that into game day 2.
I can't wait to see, and I don't know when it is, but I can't wait to see Norwich Norlads play Victoria Park Panthers. I think that will be
brilliant game. Stunning game. It will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on to Prem South C.
Still within the hour. My goodness.
We are still within the hour. We've still got the standings to do though, so I don't want to rush, but I'm going to start with Swansea Hammerheads. Difficult start. Really difficult start for them. And we touched on it last recording. How are they going to fare without Harley, etc., etc.
Yeah.
We know it's not a one-man team. There's some solid players in that team, but I mean, Northampton Titan Blue beat them 40-0. And then Coventry Phoenix beat them 42-19. And then Buckinghamshire Wolves beat them 38-14. So there's some big scores on them there.
Yeah.
It's tough to see. I mean, they conceded 120 points in 3 games. So let's put that into a bit of context. This score 33. So it's a big gap, isn't it? So
it's not something you're used to saying. It's not something. It's just not something you're used to saying. We talk about Swansea, you tend to,
which is why I'm really struggling with it, because it's like, come on, they're
it's a bit like the day after we all woke up and Donald Trump had been elected. You're all kind of looking at what?
Yes.
No. I mean, sorry, that's very harsh. I'm sure the people out who listen to this show, they think these are wonderful, man. So I'm not going to go there, but it is that kind of weird kind of sense of has the whole world turned inside out here? Hammerheads, gosh. I think I'd like to think they're going to pick that up, right? Because
I hope so.
That's not them. And we don't know. We weren't there. We don't know who turned up and who didn't turn up that day. We don't know the backstories. We don't know the ins and outs, the intricacies, the who was late, what went wrong, the refereeing calls. We don't know any of that stuff. But on paper, that's a very bizarre situation. What wasn't bizarre and what was very good, though, was the Coventry Phoenix against Panthers game, by all accounts. Whilst the score had a little bit of a stretch in it, of 15, 2 scores in there, is a real ding dong from what I've heard. Both Coventry teams really putting out a good game of football. So I think that's an interesting one. I want to see how Panthers and Phoenix get on this year, because yeah,
Yeah, and
see how you
it's
go.
early days. It's hard to tell, is it? Because in my head now, I'm thinking, well, what happened to Coventry Panthers? A great result, by the way, against Coventry Phoenix. But what happened to them against Cardiff Storm? Because it was still a relatively tight game, but a lot of points scored in that game. But then it's
Phoenix
like
beat Cardiff Storm. If Phoenix beat Cardiff Storm,
yeah,
interestingly, yes, there's another.
Exactly.
It's another one of those,
Exactly. So it's like it's always hard to tell, isn't it? We've got literally game day 1, week 1, and it's already thrown up some interesting results. But it's hard to try and jump on that pattern and that form and say who's going to do well and who isn't going to do well based on week 1. So it's tough. But what I will say is Northlands Titans blew what a start. They didn't score many points, but they didn't concede many. So they only scored 77 points. Put that in comparison, Coventry Phoenix scored 100 points. So and there's 3 teams in South A that scored way more than the Northlands Titans Blue, who were essentially the top team. Again, it's that average points conceded that you'll see in the standings that puts them at the top. But that's another interesting one. They had a great day, 2 wins from 2, hardly conceded any, but didn't score many. So we'll see whether they keep that up as they play the other teams in the conference. Right, shall we have a look at the standings on that?
Yeah, I think we've chewed over that quite well. That's another little accordion to watch. Yeah, let's see. Let's see that one. Right, standings.
Yes, I don't know if I've got the right bloody one here, so let's go with again combined. So the combined tables. We'll talk through the north. Is that the north? It's too small on my screen.
That's the north. Yeah, there.
I can see a couple of the longest team names.
Looks about right.
In ever. Border City Centurions, Black, what a mouthful. West Lancashire Serpents, what a mouthful. Anyway, so obviously sitting at the top, as I mentioned, West Lancashire Serpents. Again, average points against is a key factor here. Yes, okay, it goes off win percentage first. When you've not got conference games, head-to-head is as much use as a fart in a wind tunnel. So the next one that really is prominent, I think, will be key throughout the season is this average points against. And West Lancashire Serpents, they conceded 52 points, an average of 26 points per game.
That's a weird table in the middle. Like we've just looked at those games, and how those fixtures went, and seeing Renfrewshire Raptors, then Sheffield Giants, Steel, Grangemouth Mustangs, Newcastle Blackhawks, and I'm not entirely convinced that's going to stay like that. And then obviously we just said before, Mustangs and Chargers 1 point game. Yeah, the separation of that table is massive. I think the top is feels about right. I'd say Newcastle deserves to be closer in than that because they're a heck of a good team. And I haven't played against them this weekend. They are a very good team. But we're just going to have to see how this one goes. If we get to a situation where there are 2 dominant teams and 1 and 3 dominant teams in the other, we will possibly agree the fact there was no cross conference to really get an acid test against that. I think that's just an inevitability. And it might also be difficult for teams like the Bees this year, which is a bit of a shame, looking at how they struggled at the home game and considering they've got some road games ahead of them now. But I think all things considered, the middle of that table is going to change an awful lot. My prediction in the next game day, that's going to be night and day.
So going back to my point about my critique of Centurions black defense. There's a reason why I'm saying that is because that's holding you back at the minute in terms of this table. Not holding you back generally. That's a lot. That's a. I don't mean it in that way, but I mean,
tell an offense that. When you say to Brandon, you're like,
give your defense a rest.
10 minutes, just kill the clock. Next thing he tries to hit Lewis over the top with like a 40-yard bomb. You're like, how's that killing the clock, mate? It's just, yeah. It's literally like, defense is great. It's just, you can't leave them on the pitch, and not at this level. You can't leave your defense in the pitch because, these are good teams. They are good teams. And if you give a team enough shots on offense in this division, they'll find a way back. They'll grab you by the tail. They'll drag you out into the deep water. They'll wrestle with you when you should have had it one. And then next thing you know, they're drowning you. And you need to be really careful in terms of your gameplay. If you get yourself 3-4 touchdowns up, as we did, kill the game. Just kill the game. It's on your target. We've got drills where we can make a drive last for 8 minutes. It's just like, just do that. It's just like really simple, but yeah.
But I do say it obviously tongue in cheek, and I'm not blaming the defense at all. But it's me being tongue in cheek to highlight actually how important this average points against is going to be this year. It's going to be massive. It's going to dictate a lot of final positions, I think. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on from South. Like I say, Northampton Titans blue sat at the top.
Wow.
Again.
They are stingy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Exactly. So they conceded 22 points in 2 games. So 11 points on average per game. Which is pretty good. Because Norwich Nomads, who are next, obviously 22.5 points. Average points conceded. Yeah.
This is an interesting dynamic because you got Phoenix way above Panthers, yet the fact Panthers beating them by 15 points. Yeah. And you kind of think to yourself, this is okay, yeah, we're game day one, yeah, it's gonna pan out. But that's again, I think the guts of that table are gonna move around a lot. I'd say that those guts are gonna move around more than a dodgy curry on a Saturday night in Rusholme. You're gonna see them move around. Lived experiences. Yeah.
Dodgy curries.
No, don't. We could just an undercooked haggis.
Nothing wrong with undercooked haggis.
but the I think that's very interesting. This average points conceded thing is going to be massive. It is going to be massive, and the tables already kind of show that. And it's not about losing; it's about how you lose. Accepting that all teams will win or lose. How do you stay in the hunt and how do you minimise those? And my goodness. So the top tip, I guess the top coaching tip is if you're losing a game, then kill the clock. If you know you're going to lose that game, instead of fighting for it, don't even fight for it. Kill the clock.
Yeah.
Wow, that changes the whole game, doesn't it?
Yeah. We saw that in the WFFL in the
Yeah. So if you're down by 3 and you're going into the last 5 to 10 minutes and you know you're unlikely to get those 3, then instead of actually competing, make it the dullest game you can. Just do anything you can to slow the game down.
We can go down one massive rabbit hole here, which I don't want to go down, but this is why I hate points conceded being a tiebreaker. I'd much rather it be points scored.
It forces conservative football.
It does.
Very conservative football. It says keep this as boring as you can. Yeah.
Definitely.
Interesting.
Indeed. Now I've got to mention it because I promised that I will before we wrap up.
Yes.
Kirkcaldy Cup. What are your thoughts on that? The HNC are trying to bring it back alive. Obviously, there's the Coventry plate from a WFFL perspective, but obviously we're in NFFL season. So Kirkcaldy Cup. What are your thoughts?
Listen, I don't mean that in a nasty way. I've just been transfixing other stuff. I think Kirkcaldy Cup.
In fairness, I have thrown you under the bus a little bit.
No, my body language is like equivocal. I don't want to offend anyone because it's a really good thing. No, but it's a really good thing, and I know the HNC are making a big push on it. And I know that there's good teams going there and all that. It's just, for me, it's just kind of, there's a lot of stuff going on in the landscape right now with the season that we've waited so long to get started. It's been held back, and now we're out. And it's just kind of like, I don't want to look anywhere but forwards. I just don't. And that's just a really personal, and I'm sure there are other clubs that are like that right now. It's the famous Joan of Arc line when she was storming the Bastille in Metz. It was, one of our cynical generals said behind her, what you can do if you look backwards and you see we're not following you. And she says, why would I look backwards? I mean, that's not what you do, And I think it's great and it's there and it's awesome. And I'm going to give it credit because I'm going to pour my nose into it and I'm going to go and watch it. And I'm backpedaling as much as I can here right now, mate. But for me, I just don't have a vested interest in it personally.
No, I quite like the idea of it. Now, they do this certainly do it in New Zealand rugby. I can't remember what the cup's called. The wife did tell me about it, but they do it for rugby in New Zealand. It's a bit like similar-ish, I guess, a longer-winded version of like the Calcutta Cup, I guess, and things like that. So I actually quite like it. I think it brings another dynamic to a game day. I think it could prove very difficult for it to swap between the North and South conferences if there's no cross-conference game days.
Hang on, you didn't have to explain the whole thing to me because you've just blown my mind straight away there. And I was
really?
Like, this isn't a joke.
So essentially, the premise is
nobody explained this. Hang on, nobody sent the memo round. Okay, right. Let's. Okay.
So basically, my interpretation of it and the premise is that obviously the team. So Glasgow Hornets, as the champions, would hold this Kirkcaldy Cup. Okay, so they currently are the holders of the Kirkcaldy Cup. And then if they get beat,
right.
So what happened was they got beat by Aberdeen Oilcats, not Oilcats, yeah, Oilcats, and therefore they took that title off them. But then they went and got beat by Manchester Crows, the Oilcats. So the Crows then took that title off them, and it basically passes out throughout the season. Whoever beats, and then obviously when you get to the end of the season, it means it might not even end up with, at the end of the season, it might not end up in finals.
So it's a conceptual game of tag.
Exactly that.
Brilliant. I love that now. Now I'm in. Okay. Now you've got me hooked. All right. Okay. So credit to whoever's organised that because that actually sounds like a lot of fun. So right. Yeah. Okay. So it's almost like the Mexican bean that you put under the hat, and it's like who's going to end up in this thing, right?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So now, honestly, that was not explained. And I mean, I explained a lot of things on social media, but
I did say I threw you under the bus on it because we even ran through.
I'm glad because. I'm sure I'm not the only person listening or watching this right now who's just like, what? It's just like, so that's interesting, that. Okay, so is this amongst national teams only, right?
Presumably. Well, it's whoever plays. So it's currently with the national team, so it's going to be extremely difficult for it to pass down into the other divisions in a minute. It's going to be hard. I mean, we do have cross-conference games in the next round, actually, I think.
Super weekends?
Yeah, super weekend. So that means it could pass to a southern team, but that basically means somebody has to beat the Crows. So we can talk about this. Yeah, so if the Smoke beat the Crows, then the Smoke would take it. But then if the Smoke got beat by whoever, which means in the super weekends, it could cross between South. It could move North and South.
That's a lot of fun.
And I just think it gives a little bit more onus in the individual tournaments as well. Some, as you say, a little bit more fun, a little bit more something to fight for. And
is it is not conceptual? There's an actual thing that's passed as a physical object, right? Like there's a tiny little like the Ashes that has to be on.
No, I don't think there is. Yet. The whole point is, and in fairness to the HNC boys, the way we HNC boys, they are trying to revive it and get it back going. So, if we help promote it as well, and obviously get the teams on board and how fun it can be, I'm sure it could evolve into something a hell of a lot better.
And it sounds like fun, not on all honesty. Understanding it now, and my apologies, I've wasted 5 minutes of the listener's life here. I may be the only person in the country who didn't know that, right? But I know that's in Carlisle, we often don't get the memo. I don't think many people like us in Carlisle. I think they just kind of like we're kept out of clubs.
To be fair, I don't think it's fully been briefed out. And it's certainly not a BAFRA initiative, so it won't get briefed out on. It's just a bit of fun, bit of extra initiative, just to keep things fun.
And it makes it salty. Yeah, I like that. It adds something. It's another dimension. It is. It's yeah. I'm in.
Good stuff.
But it's not going to end up in the Prem, though, is it? That's the problem. And it wouldn't be used in the Prem anyway because there's no cross conference. It would just literally just go to one of two parties and end up there.
Yeah.
You know,
it could drop down to the Prem, albeit there's no it can't do because there's no yo-yo games. There's no
there's not
play-ins. There's no play-ins. Well, it could still go to a team that gets relegated.
Someday I feel like I live in poverty football. It's like this is a thing. This is a club that we're not allowed to play in. This is like sorry, jackets only, gentlemen. It's like okay.
But if a team that gets relegated beats, in the last game of the season beats, another the team that have it, then technically they could take it down to the Prem with them. That's damn impossible, unlikely, but. Yeah,
so it's almost as difficult as getting relegated from the national table structure nowadays. It's almost like a kind of like you're here for life unless something goes really badly wrong. Which is yeah.
So I think it's a good thing, and I think it'll be something fun to watch and maybe track throughout the season and see how it goes.
But let's track it.
Yeah,
let's start with it. Let's start with it. Just like as a kind of like a Where's Wally, kind of like start the show. Yeah, I like that.
We'll try and include it on the graphics as well. So on the standings graphics, what I'll do is I'll retrospectively, well, I've gone out on socials now, but I'll retrospectively add it. So when we next do the recording, we can see it next to the team who keep it. We'll even put it on the fixtures so you can see how it transfers through the day.
You have got a lot of skill and talent because, to do that,
it's a copy and paste job.
But
it's easy.
Should we wrap up or should we good, bad, and ugly?
Oh, that's a good shout. Good, bad, and ugly. I nearly forgot. Okay, give me your good.
Definitely Storm because they were just good. Like you can't take anything away from that. You can't. I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna say this. I'm going to go there and I'm going to say it right. Bad for the sake of one game. Okay, Hornets. For one game, they were bad. Okay. Now, I don't mean that, and no disrespect to Aberdeen. I'm just like, there'll be a lot of tune on it. And ugly, I'm going to say Cardiff Hurricanes because they had one very, very convincing one, but the other two were knuckle fights. And I'm not saying that ugly can be beautiful, but, it's kind of like, If you see me in the morning, my wife says, it's like that. Ugly can be beautiful, but I think I will go ugly because they had to knuckle fight those two that 2-point win and that 1-point win. So that's my good man. Storm, good, bad, one game. Hornets, take no offence, please. Very good friends of mine on the Hornets, and ugly, definitely the Canes.
I'm gonna go good. For Manchester Crows, fair play to them. They've had a good start to the season, so fair play to them. The bad, I'm going to go Reading Devils, and not because they were bad. I think it's a bad situation in terms of them being ninth on the combined table when their first two games are against Hurricanes and Smoke. So I think it should be the good, the unlucky, and the ugly. I think. So yeah, bad in terms of their position, and I think that makes bad for the conference that Reading Devils are down there because it's absolutely false. And then the ugly, I'm sorry, Edinburgh, but it's going to have to be 145 points conceded in 3 games. That's massive, and the only way is up. Let's be honest, but
that's true. Well, no, but that is true. Literally, I mean, it's kind of this, but it's a lot. That's a pack to fight your way through to try and claim back up. That is, That's a tough place to be. So you're letting off the hammerheads. Yeah.
I am letting them off. For now.
Shall we see what happens in the next podcast and see if that? So maybe like the Kirkcaldy Cup, we kind of need to go as a good, a bad, or uglies and see how they track, and then we can have like those NFL kind of charts. So it's like, Storm, you were good, you stayed good, you beat everyone, you won it. It was that was it. But then we could have this yo-yo and who's ugly and who's kind of maybe. I think Hornets ain't going to be bad for very long. I honestly think that sometimes a loss like that can put the fire under a good team. And then they could just go straight on from there, just win out and hurt a lot of people along the way because they get a chip on the shoulder. A chip on your shoulder is a good thing in football.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I think it's clear that Smoke have got a chip in that shoulder. So, yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we wrap it up then? Yeah. Bumper. This is technically only 6 conferences. We've got 7 conferences to go next week. When
no way we're doing Div 1. I get it now. I get why in the IBB conceptual office earlier on, as we were sitting there at our various chairs, and I was gazing out the window watching the sunset over Chicago landscape. So I have to create this image in people's minds that that's what I want. It's like those slanty blinds, the sunset, and it's like, and you're just like, no way are we doing this in one podcast. And I was like, really? Come on. It'll only take us 30 minutes. And you looked at me like, Nick Weston, you look as stupid as you are.
Don't be daft. You're putting words into my mouth.
Do you like
it was a silly thought. I do like your balls. Got to be careful now. Those listening and not being able to see, there are balls in the background. Lots of new balls, and I don't mean...
Wilson Omegas, and I'm not getting sponsored by Wilson, although just about everyone is sponsored as nowadays. In case you haven't noticed on social media, we've gone on a bit of a sponsorship. I mean, like literally, people come up to us the weekend going, "Are you sponsoring everything?" Your club's like literally right down to like our centres for head. Like you can buy space in that this year. Okay, if you want to get a tattoo in Ed Johnson's head, that's fine. I'll £100. Okay, but we so I'm not getting paid for this, but Wilson Omegas. Absolutely brilliant. You can't drop one of those balls. There's no excuse to drop one of those balls. They're superb. So watch us get those nicked at the next game day now. Someone's like, oh, great.
And if any of you listeners or watchers do happen to have footage of someone from the Centurions dropping one of these balls, please send it in.
Mate, can I hit you with a stat? Sorry, I know we're 122 into this. But can I hit you with a stat? This is a true stat. Brandon, across 2 games, 82.3% pass completion rate. That's phenomenal. Arran, like literally, I think the only ones that he didn't get were ones that he either grounded or threw out of play because he was about to get sacked. People like Dom Lewis. Dom had 12 catches. Every single one of them was either a touchdown, an XP, or a first down. Every single one. He didn't have a single touch of the ball that didn't result in a positive play. That's not to do with those guys at all. It's the balls. The balls are phenomenal. Buy the balls. I am sponsored.
It's also tiring out your defense. Right, let's stop. Let's end it there before I'm going to end up next time. Let's see some of your boys. I'm going to end up lynched. Right. Thank you for joining. Apologies for the digressions, but also I don't apologise because I do find it very fun. So, hope you enjoyed listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're listening in, please do watch it on YouTube as well if you want to see the graphics that are lovingly prepared this week by Andy, not Stuart. It's not only Stuart, but Andy's done a real shift this week. So,
good work.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening and tune in the following week when we talk about Div 1 for another hour and a half. Thank you very much.